It's not every day you find lore hidden away in weapon descriptions that add a whole new layer of richness to a video game, but often these details go completely unnoticed by most players, and this one is no exception. This weapon log provides us with certain information about the behavior of the Landbreakers, a common enemy we'll face in Arknights Endfield. Today, we're going to discuss the entry log of a weapon called the Clannibal and the gruesome brutality behind the Landbreakers. The Clanibal's weapon log opens with a disturbing passage, not about the weapon itself, but about a written memo found during an investigation. It begins with a violent declaration written by a Landbreaker filled with pure hatred, and I quote, "And thus, I curse you all. Your blood shall flow across the barren lands and stagnate in pools of gore. Your people and everyone you love shall drown in the filth of your veins." The passage I just read set the tone for everything that follows during the entry log. With this information, we are able to get into the mindset of the Landbreakers themselves. They're just groups of raiders who turn against the very world that once created them. After reading that passage, the author of the log, whoever he was, starts writing his own thoughts in the report. He questions why the Landbreakers would turn on their own kind, and I quote, "Hardly anyone knows why Landbreakers would want to attack their own people. The seething hatred so vividly reflected by these notes, as well as the brutality personally inflicted upon Landbreakers captured by the author of the said notes, can only be described as horrifying and gruesome." Now, after reading his report, he sounds like a very serious analyst, and honestly, anyone reading those events would probably describe them the same way, horrifying and gruesome. But there's something subtle in the way he writes. Words like horrifying and gruesome carry emotion. They show that even in his attempt to stay objective, some part of him is reacting. It seems like a faint slip in his composure, a moment where that analytical tone starts to fade. The author tries to make sense of the hatred he's reading. He wonders if there was reason, a common cause, as he calls it, that made the Landbreakers turn on each other, but there isn't. He eventually admits that the author of the original memo was just a brute, a murderer who hanged his own ally's family over a petty dispute. That single line changes everything. It's here that the writer's tone shifts from curiosity to disgust, not toward the Landbreakers, but toward himself. As his writing continues, his disgust turns to determination. He declares that personal hatred means little, and that his true goal is advancing something called the Security Act for Peace on Talos 2. He argues that the very concept of landbreaking should be made criminal, erased from every corner of civilization. What began as lawmaking turns into moral cleansing, the same behavior that once drove the Landbreakers, now disguised as peace and progress. As his writing spirals further, he describes the Landbreakers as a peripheral rot, a disease eating away at civilization itself. He calls it a cancer that must be sterilized, convinced this corruption can never be cleansed, only destroyed. What began as research now reads like a manifesto. His language of justice has decayed into the belief that salvation can only come through destruction. And then the final line changes everything, and I quote, "I spent 30 years of my life as a Landbreaker. You must have faith in my words." With that, the author exposed himself. The man writing this so-called policy for peace was one of them, a former Landbreaker trying to prove his loyalty by erasing his own past and everyone who still carries it. This weapon entry log tells the story of a man who turned his guilt into ideology and his redemption into another form of violence. Through the words of a single broken man, we see that the Landbreakers truly were not just raiders or outlaws, but a mirror of the civilization that created them. His story reminds us that brutality doesn't disappear when the war ends. It simply finds a new uniform, a new doctrine, and a new justification. The Clannibal Entrelog shows us that even peace can be built on violence, and that sometimes the people who claim to protect civilization are the ones who understand brutality best. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe and make sure to join the biggest Arknights Endfield community over at X. The link will be in the description. That's all guys. See you guys next time.